Hey guys and gals, welcome back to the second podcast of our podcast adventure here. We're here with Oldbess and I'm Komlit. And how you doing, Oldbess?
Doing good this fine Sunday.
That is great. That's great. We're gonna actually have a guest in segment 2. Not the first segment because we're gonna be talking about a lot of gold, and he's not really a gold YouTuber. We'll have some introductions of him later on. What have we been doing since the last podcast? It's been about 2 weeks since we put the last one out, and we do apologize for that. But it's just life comes at you fast, and you got to deal with it. But we're gonna have a schedule, and that's something I want to tell y'all before we get into all this. As the schedule is gonna be on Sunday. Every Sunday there will be a podcast, and we're gonna actually have everything set up for you on a schedule. So prepare for that, guys. And I'll say right now that the first subject is something that, like I said at the beginning, it's really something a lot of people have been asking. What have we been doing, and what have we been doing to make gold? Because it's getting to that point where it's almost time for pre-patch. Oldbess, what have you been doing?
So I want to tell you what I've been doing that's been successful, and also what has not been successful the last 2 weeks since the podcast. So for me, I went over to the Silithus Farm, which is a very old farm. It's been around since Cataclysm. And those guys, they drop a lot of rune cloth. And in the past, rune cloth hasn't been selling very much. Most people will sometimes even vendor it. But I've had a huge success selling it on the auction house. I've been selling it for almost 3 gold each rune cloth. Sometimes I'll lower it to 2, but I've been farming a lot of that. And what's nice with that farm is I've been starting to get more familiar with some of the transmog pieces that people like to buy that have a higher sell rate. That farm is just great. They have a great loot table. I did get the Blade of Hannah, which is an epic, and I sold that. Also, you can get a lot of lockboxes, and I opened those, and I got the plans for the Lionheart helm, and I sold that as well this week. And I also sold a few glorious pieces, some jade pieces, some merciless pieces. And yeah, so I've just been learning some of these pieces that tend to sell more often. Another thing that I'm planning on farming is some of the saltstone pieces to test my luck at that. I have noticed that these pieces, they're pretty crap in value right now, though. They're just not doing too well, but they still sell relatively pretty fast. Often I'll actually just post them in trade chat to try to move them faster. I'll lower the price just to move them faster sometimes. Some of the things that haven't been working is in the past, the volatile farms, like volatile water and fire in particular, I've had a huge success with those. But I keep having to relist my auctions for those, and they're just not selling. I'm not quite sure why, because they used to sell really fast in the past, but I just haven't been able to sell them very well. I've also been farming the Terrified Pack Mule. Got 2 of those this week. I've sold one of them, and the other one is still on the auction house. So I have noticed that my auctions are selling a lot slower right now. I've also done a little bit of raw gold farming, and that's it.
That's pretty interesting. I've actually did the farm with you one time, and I got Vanguard and Glorious and a few other things, and some of them were already sold. I mean, I don't remember where I got a pattern from. There was this pattern I just sold today. It's a pattern I've never seen before. I probably got it from another farm. I think I got it actually from my Runecloth farm, but it sold for 19,000. It was crazy. But there's a lot of stuff that is selling, but there's a lot of stuff that's not selling because it's almost to that point where people were just preparing more than anything else. And it's understandable because once you get to the point of, in an expansion or, just a pre-patch coming up, no one wants to buy those corrupted items, or no one wants to buy those high-end items for rating, because if the achievements aren't going to go away, who cares? I mean, you're going to get the piece of gear in the first week of the new expansion that replaces that mythic. So it's understandable when some things are not selling. For me personally, what I've been doing raw gold farm still. I've been doing stuff and stockpiling from rune cloth to rugged leather and so forth, because I know that these relic prices are going to be great when it comes to vendoring to them, doing the shuffle. And yes, guys, I suggest you, if you can, please get another account, because this is going to be a sit thing, okay? I did a video recently that showed you that it took an hour to do a farm, and then it took another 40 minutes just to do the relics, then it took another 15 or so just to do everything else, 215 minutes total just to do a 1 hour farm, which, it's a long time. So if you have someone who could just sit there and make relics, that is just going to be the way to go. Now, what have you been stockpiling? Me personally, stockpiling, like I said, I've been stockpiling rune leather, I've been stockpiling rugged leather and so forth. It's something that, you need to do because relics going to be great and everything. But other than that, I have been stockpiling tomes a lot because I have a mage, and a mage can actually make tomes. They're not worth selling because they cost too much to post, but tomes are going to be great still as well. As far as I know, they're not going away. If they are, then I will let y'all know. What about you? What have you been actually stockpiling, Oldbess?
So with stockpiling, I was stockpiling some of the primals, Primal Fire in particular, and then also some of the volatiles. I just haven't been selling them too, so I'm hoping that maybe I'll have better luck once Shadowlands comes out. So with the Primal Fire in particular, I know that there are some good gear sets you can craft with those, so I was suspecting that they could go up in value. I purchased them all from the auction house, and it may end up being a mistake. I spent like 150,000 gold purchasing them, and they've dropped in price from what I purchased them at originally. So I'm a little concerned about that. So that may have been a bad move. But with my character, what I've been trying to do is just have a good stockpile of material so I can just continue to sell them. I also have done some pet farming. So I farmed for the Sprite Darter hatchling, the Emerald Whelpling, and some of the other whelp. I have a stockpile of those ready to go too. So what would be nice is if I can just stockpile things that I can just sell over time. I'm not really buying much stuff from the auction house to hope to make money in the future. Oftentimes it's kind of hard to tell what's going to happen, especially when with the PTR and beta, they can always just make changes at any moment and then you're kind of screwed. So I've been kind of holding off on that. Some people have been thinking that some of the BFA mounts like the pack mule and stuff will go up in value, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be easier to farm them. If I get any of the BFA mounts, I'm just selling them. So most stuff I'm just selling across the board right now just to get the gold. But I am hopeful that the primals will go up in value and maybe interest as more people are crafting gear with the relics of the past.
Yeah, I've been actually saving more stuff too as well than just tomes. It's been bags of materials like, stuff for, potions of flask. They might not do nothing when it comes to, the next expansion, the potion of flask, like after a few weeks. But when it comes to like leveling, when it comes to helping out just to get through that Shadowlands or wherever you're going to level at, this is something that honestly you need to put it in, perspective. Is basically when you're selling at the beginning of expansion, it's not more of a collecting what people are looking at. They're more basically coming into it, hey, will this help me? Hey, will this help me have more bag space? Or will this help me, get places faster and so forth? I honestly think that that's a lot of things that a lot of other people look over. They think that, hey, I'm just going to go get this and then someone's going to buy it at specific times of expansion. Like if you put in perspective, like potions and flasks, when it comes to raid tier types things, that's when they sell the most. Not whenever the achievements are already done or whenever there's nothing going on. They don't really sell as much as compared to, that first day on raid or that first week of raid, or let's go into the next expansion. People are looking for basically things that can help them get there faster, get the stuff done faster. Like for instance, not anymore, but used to be experience potions. People would buy those crazy because, hey, it helped them level faster. Why not? What's your thoughts actually about that, Oldbess? Do you think that the mentality state of specific points of expansion is actually the way to go? Like pick this point of a raid, or sell flasks and stuff like that and food because that's what people want. Or if people want mounts like say the one that you were talking about. Maybe to end because they don't want to come back here. They want to do new content compared to come back here.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to be aware of that. Like you said, the flasks. And we've seen that with the herb prices. They've just plummeted in price. Some of them on our server are 1 gold each, which is just crazy. So for sure, you need to be aware of the time frame and what people are interested in. I think another one that will be a good one is the Goblin Glider. That one's always a good one at the start of an expansion. But yeah, like you said, people are just wanting to level quickly. They're wanting to get to max level. They're going to start to want to gear up. So in my opinion, once people get to max level, they're going to maybe start looking at buying some of the bind and equip epic gear if those are dropping like they normally have in past expansions. They'll have those from mobs around the world, just a really low drop rate, and then people can sell those. So yeah, just being aware of what people are currently doing, the content, and then you can really capitalize on making gold that way.
Yep, and that's just the way it works. It's been working for the whole expansion, and it actually expansions before. Now, we want to talk about something that I put a video out, is basically the relics of the past, the different vendor prices. If y'all didn't know about this is something that a lot of people are overlooking, is that there's categories, okay? Like the highest is chest, the lowest is bracers, I think, which is expected just like any other thing they do. They're ranged from 21 gold all the way up to 51 gold. I just want to point it out in this podcast, and hopefully everybody sees it this way too as well, and sees that, you know, you're not going to get 51 gold every time you do Relics of the Past. A lot of people think that you're going to go in there and you're going to give out, you know, every single kind of, like, you know, bracers you want, and you're going to get 51 gold. No, there's groups. Honestly, do you think this is the right way to go for Shadowlands? Do you think it's all right that they put groups like, okay, lower gear is going to be this from anywhere from 21 to 40, and then like chest, which is harder to make, or, you know, pants, those were hard to make, they're within the 40 to 51. What's your thoughts about that, Oldbess?
So my thoughts on this, I think this is a good move, because otherwise people are just going to be making bracers for really cheap. So that way it just helps make it worth it. Like if you're crafting like legs or chest pieces, which vendor for more gold, it's going to be worth it. I think it's a good balance of the system. I think it's a good move.
Which makes sense, because if they put it where, you know, it's so cheap, like so cheap to make, then it would be legitly, you can just get infinite gold off yourself. Yeah, you would have to farm, but it would just be too easy, and I don't think they want to make it too easy. And this is the thing, guys and gals, Blizzard is a company, and at the end of the day, they report to Activision and their sponsors, or whoever, you know, the shareholders, and they have to make the money. So they rather you try to, you know, go farm like for hours to get gold, to do WoW tokens and so forth, which makes sense. And to be honest, we have another subject we want to talk about, and that is Spellfire, gear set, stuff like that. I know nothing about, so I'm gonna let Oldbess take this, and we'll just go from there, guys.
All right, so I've been learning some of the stuff. So with this Relic of the Past stuff, what's interesting with it is, my understanding is, as of right now, some things are going to work for some of this crafted gear, other things are not. I've heard mixed things about the sockets, like maybe the sockets may or may not work. I've also heard that some of the gear sets that have like the effects on them, or like the set bonuses, could still work. So the one in particular that I had my eye on was the Spellfire robe set. So it's a 3-piece, and if you have the 3-piece, it increases your spell damage by 1% of your intellect, and it would be a very solid piece. I also was thinking that with the Relics of the Past, the original plan, at least on the PTR, was that this would bump you up. These pieces, you could increase them to up to eye level 100, but it looks like they may have nerfed that down to 87. So that makes me a little worried that maybe these won't be as good as I originally thought. But in particular with the Spellfire robe, I know that they need a lot of Primal Fire to make them. So that's why I actually purchased all the Primal Fire, as I was thinking that people are going to be like, oh, I need to get this robe and this set bonus. It's just so powerful. But with them bumping down the item level on these relic pieces, I'm not so sure anymore. So that may have been a bad investment. And I think this is a good example of careful when you stockpile stuff, is because Blizzard could make a change on the fly, and then you're kind of up the creek.
Yep, and what he means by 87 too as well is that I put as a picture on my Discord. There'll be a Discord link inside the comment section or in the description. I will say right now that they literally did this on beta. PTR, I haven't checked. I need to go check on the PTR. But the thing is, even if it doesn't go to PTR, you got to understand that this will make it live to Shadowlands. Beta is Shadowlands, basically, and PTR is just what pre-patch is going to be. So you got to understand that there's 3 different modes. It's basically live, PTR, which is pre-patch, and beta. And beta is showing that they've nerfed it to 87 for every single crafted item, which again, it seems like this is going to be a big nerf if they do that, which makes it come back to what he said, is that for anything that could be effect, it could be literally not worth it. But we'll take, for example, the trinket from Hellfire Cathedral. That trinket is really good when it comes to agility users. It's from the council fight. You can get it dropped from them, and they actually reflect your damage. Like, I think it's anywhere from 15 to 25%. Let me know in the comments below how much it is. But the point is still does all the percent of your total damage you have now. So it's a really good trinket. Now, I will say right now, when it comes to crafting in Shadowlands, there's some crafting gear that's going to be 160 or to 130, something like that. But I will say that it's going to be very simple to get, and that is higher than, 87 or 100. So you just got to look at the effects over. But like I said, that trinket is way lower when it comes to eye level, but it's still amazing for agility workers. So it's something like that you got to put to, comparing. Is it worth it? Does it have an amazing effect compared to like just, a stat boost? Stat boosters are just not going to be it. So you just got to look at it when you make the crafting. But that said, let's actually get to the next subject.
Okay, guys, for our next segment, we're going to be talking about some gold farming spots, some ones that we've noticed since last podcast that has been nerfed, and also some new spots we have found. So I've noticed a lot of Legion spots being nerfed. The Isle of the Watchers, all those spots have been nerfed. There's also a elemental farm I don't think very many people knew of. It was actually pretty close to the Isle of the Watchers. I used to see a lot of multi-boxers there. They would just drop a lot of great items that vendored for a lot. So that was nerfed as well. I know last podcast, I think we mentioned the Quill Rat farm has been nerfed, but I've been seeing a lot of the raw gold farming spots, especially in Legion, just getting the nerf hammer. One that I used to use all the time was the Suramar one, and that was nerfed actually quite some time ago, but I went there and I used to loot like 95 gold like every 2 minutes, and then it was like 10. So that saw a nerf too. So I've been seeing quite a few nerfs.
And same here, I found a few nerfs, that we actually showed on my channel, and one of them was the Skyrender farm, which is, it was great. It was, everybody loved to actually do that farm. It was something new for skinning and so forth, but it didn't even take them that long to do, and they nerfed it where it's just not good no more. And I do apologize to my subscribers for that nerf, but, it's just not something I can't control. But also, too, as well, you got to look at AQ20. AQ20 is a great farm to get some stuff, but they nerfed it where you can't skin any of the people there. It's crazy. They're going through a lot of old farms, and they're nerfing them based off of what they're implementing in the next expansion and in pre-patch. Now, I want to say right now that there's a lot of changes coming. I did a video on this recently. If you want to check that out, it will be in the description. Yes, I'm not trying to self-promote myself right now, but the point is this, okay? Is that in a live version, if you go to Karazhan, right, you're not going to get Runencloth, you're not going to get different kind of T-Mog, you're probably going to get the same T-Mog over and over again, but you'll probably get that every now and then, get that one drop. You're like, oh man, it sells for a lot. But in PTR, and also too as well in beta, you got Runencloth dropping from Karazhan, which this is very, very, very welcomed, because when they nerf your eye level, they're going to push a lot of loot tables different ways, and literally Karazhan's a new farm. There's so many different items dropping there now in PTR and beta that it doesn't even look like Karazhan no more. It looks like a whole new farm, and I'm liking it. I like it, but in the same sense, and I want Oldbess's opinion on this. If you've been going to these spots for so long to get the T-Mog, right, and you want to finish your T-Mog, and you're like, man, I'm so close, I just need one more piece. What happens when this change goes live, and you're like, I can't get that piece no more because it's either A, out of game, or B, it's just nowhere to be seen but some other raid that you didn't know about because no one has any information on it.
I'm curious to see what they're going to be doing with this too. I don't see them taking pieces out of the game. That would be a huge mistake. I think there'd be a lot of uproar about that, but them shifting things around, I could see that being frustrating. But at the same time, hopefully that will create more gold farming spots or places that we can farm these transmog pieces as well.
And I agree, and stuff like that are gonna confuse people. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example before we get into the next subject. One thing that confused me when I was doing PTR, and actually beta, and there was an item that dropped. It was called Nomad, a buckler. It was a shield, right? Never seen it on PTR. I never seen it on live version. I never seen it on Undermine, Google, or anything like that. Didn't know where it came from. Didn't have ideas for it. But then there's some people who actually got in contact with me and told me, hey, they just name changed this. I don't know why they name changed. I honestly don't. I mean, Oldbess, do you have any reason why they would, name change an item or items to confuse people?
The only thing I can think of is maybe there was some word that was offensive to some people or something. I don't know. I'm not sure why the sudden change in that right now.
And the next subject is going to be new spots we have found or will be good for relics of the past. What kind of spots do you have found, Oldbess?
I've been doing a lot of this recently. So my play style is, if I do one farm for too long, I just get bored and I just have no desire to play the game. So for me, one of the joys is trying to find new spots and testing them out. So I've been doing that a lot the last 2 weeks. I'm trying to remember all of them that I've found. I tried quite a few different ones in Warlords. I did find 2. I believe they were in the Spires of Iraq zone, kind of near the middle on the eastern side of the zone. There was some insects that hyperspawn. I did see a boxer there, and they just dropped some really valuable grays. And then just north of there was another farm location. They were like these undead flying creatures. It's just just northeast of the insects, and they drop a bunch of grays as well, and you can get them to hyper spawn. And I think with me boxing right now, what's been really fun is I've been able to go to locations, and I've been trying to figure out how to make the guys hyper spawn. And oftentimes it's tied with their name. So if their name is the same, if you look up all the mobs with the same name and you kill all of them, you can get them to hyper spawn. Sometimes they'll be tied to another creature as well, so you have to kill that creature as well to get them to hyper spawn. But I've been just flying around finding new locations. I have discovered a lot of locations just from flying around and seeing other people farming there. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I just found this spot. And other ones I've been just kind of discovering myself. I think one in particular that I was doing was in Legion in Stormheim. It's kind of on the eastern side of the zone. There are a bunch of Murlocs. There's an island with the Murlocs and then also a shore with the Murlocs. And there's a lot of Murlocs. Since I have 8 characters, what I was doing is I had spaced my characters out, so I was able to reach most of the Murlocs, and then I would start killing them. And what's cool is I could get them to start hyper spawning. So I think for me with boxing, that's been fun, is been able to trying to find these new spots. And when it comes to terms with the relics of the past, I think in particular, the main farm that I thought was really good with the rune cloth, since that will be used for one of the relics, was the Silithus Farm that I mentioned. That one is a really good farm. There's just a lot of good items that drop there. There's the Blade of Hannah, which sells for a huge amount of gold, and then the Tibu sword, it sells for an enormous amount of gold. There's just a lot of good transmog items there as well. Another one too is that I tried out. I saw a YouTube video about it by Baby Powder. He does multi-boxing guides. There is a fur farm, so it's a Warlords of Draenor farm, and you're killing these lion humanoids, and you can get them to force respawn. You need probably 2 or 3 characters in order to do it, or 2 or 3 people in a group. But I got a lot of the fur. I believe it's called this sumptuous fur, and that will be a material used for the relics of the past. The thing I don't like about the fur and about the warlord stuff is when you post the fur on the auction house, like I had quite a few. I think I posted like maybe 8,000 or something, but just the deposit for 24 hours was 500 gold. It was just crazy. So for some reason the deposit cost is very, very high for that, which kind of sucks. And a lot of the Warlords transmog stuff has a very, very high deposit cost. That kind of sucks too. But yeah, for me, it's been mainly the fur and also the rune cloth that I've been farming the last 2 weeks.
And I feel you about the posting, because tomes is actually a lot when it comes to posting 24 to 48 hours. It's not worth posting because you're going to lose a lot of gold, especially when people are undercutting. And it's just crazy the amounts of posting gold you have to do for them. Well, that I did find some more spots. One of them was in Stormheim. It was going to be these crab spots. You would go underwater and you would kill them, and you would jump to another pack, kill them, and keep doing this over and over again. Druids are king there. A lot of people do not do that spot. I put a video out. It will be in the description. And I will say right now that you get about 3,000 scales. This will be nerfed in the future. I mean, honestly, I don't see why it hasn't been nerfed, but I didn't see no one there. I mean, boxers can come here if they want to, and no offense to Oldbess, but boxers can come here, but it literally won't help them because you have to go around in a circle, and usually they don't do that, so they just stand in one spot and just kill stuff. Now, I don't know too much about boxing compared to Oldbess, but you know, that seems about right. But that said, I will say that there was other spots I found, like for instance, a Black Rock Spire, which is the lower one, is gonna have a great rune cloth drop, about 1,200 per hour. It's not as good as the other spot that we did with the multi-boxing and Silithus itself, but I will say right now that you don't have to worry about anybody. It is solo, and you can get this done within an hour and get some rugged leather too as well, about 300. So it's about 1,400 per hour compared to other boxing spots or group spots. If this is something you want to do, I suggest you do that. But if you're a boxer, yeah, there's so many better spots. Alright guys, so we're back with our second segment, and I want to introduce a good friend of mine. He's actually from overseas, and I want to say right now that, if you're from UK or anywhere like that, I'm not saying he's from the UK, I'm just saying if you're from anywhere like that, yeah, I'm overseas. So that said, it's Ley, and you'd like to introduce yourself, man?
Yo, what's up, man? I'm LeystTV. I do content here on YouTube, mainly armor set previews and mount previews. Well, anything model related, I do. And I do some guides as well. So yeah, that's pretty much what I focus on my channel here on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome. Yeah, if you haven't checked them out, check them out. It'll be in the description and in the comment section with all the links. I want to say right now, I don't know if Oldbess, did you ever hear about him before? Or?
I haven't, no. It's good to meet you, though.
Yeah, me too.
If you're looking for the next content when it comes to stuff like that, T-Mog, which we're going to be talking about that in our first topic, is something that you need to check out because he shows a really good point of view of it. Not just like, hey guys, this is going to come out here and that's it. He doesn't do that. He actually shows in detail of what is the next gear sets for each of them from cloth to plate. It's something you're interested, just like I said, check out in the description. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the changes coming to T-Mog and how the sets look. Honestly, every time these sets come out or every time something like that, it's always either a recolor and it's just like, you know, it's nice, but why just a plainly recover? I don't know too much when it comes to Shadowlands of T-Mog. Lay, tell me, is there any big differences from this expansion to other expansions, or we're going to get like more a vast of T-Mog where the changes of coming, you know, from shoulders and stuff like that be a good upgrade to it?
It is pretty good compared to Battle for Azeroth, but I mean, comparing it to Battle for Azeroth is maybe a stretch. Because personally, I think the Battle for Azeroth transmog sets weren't that good. Uldir, it wasn't that well done, but to be honest, the ones in the new upcoming raid, they're pretty awesome. I mean, I'm not sure if you have seen them, but like, for example, the plate set reminds me of a Crusader set, and like the cloth one is very cool as well. So yeah, I'm not sure if you guys have seen the transmog sets from the upcoming raid or not.
I've just seen a few pictures, not too much. I'm not too familiar with it, but from what I've seen, they look really good.
Yeah, I've seen some on your videos that you put out, and I like them, I really do. But I understand that there's a lot of concept when it comes to artwork and everything, and art's always the best when it comes to World of Warcraft, even if the expansion is not the very good in the future or in the past and stuff like that. Like WoD wasn't the best expansion in the world. A lot of people didn't like it. I personally liked it. I liked every single expansion, but the thing is, the majority didn't like it. But the art was on point. It just was on point. And same with the T-Mog it is. But like I said, I mean, it gets to a point where you're just getting another a set that's the same recolor. Some of them work that way, and some of them are amazing. Like there's some shoulders that come from the High Maul, which is just all plain amazing. They're like, I think they're cloth shoulders. They're for mage and stuff like that. They basically are red, and then there's a blue version. And you know what? It would be cool to actually get both of them on your shoulders one-on-one because you're a mage and so forth. Used to, you couldn't do that. Now you can when it comes to Shadowlands. What do you think about that change?
I mean, the more customization options you have, for example, we got a huge overhaul to the character customizations. And even with the armor sets, for example, like you mentioned with the 2 different shoulders, I think it's a positive thing. The more thing we can transmog into, the better. I mean, even simple things like in Battle for Azeroth with the backpacks, that was something completely new. And I think a lot of players really enjoyed it because, I mean, there hasn't been anything new. Like you get a set and that's about it. So for example, with the backpack, that was something completely new, and the same with the shoulders. So now you can actually transmog your shoulders individually and make even more unique sets. And I think for transmog competitions, like for example Asmongold's competition, that's going to be huge because the more unique sets you can make, the better. I mean, even for normal players like you and me who maybe love transmog, I think it's going to be huge.
So Lay, with some of the changes to transmog and them adding new options, what do you think of mount armor? Do you think that should be a thing?
I think their experiment on the Mechagon Isle in Battle for Azeroth was pretty interesting, but I'm not sure how it's going to work. Let's say, for example, you get Invincible. How is mount armor going to work on those mounts, like the old mounts? So it would have to be something completely new mounts like they did with the Mechagon mount. But I think it's a pretty cool idea in general because the reward structure in World of Warcraft is kind of outdated, I would say. I mean, we have transmog, sure, we have mounts, we have achievements, but why don't we have something else? I mean, like you say, like mount armors or some effects on the mounts or I mean, even the stuff they did back in the day with the guild mount where you could have your guild banner on, that was pretty neat, but they haven't really done anything like that for a while, except for the Mechagon mount in Battle for Azeroth. But I'm not sure. I mean, how do you guys think it's going to work if they would add some mount armor? How would they do it?
Honestly, me personally, I think it would be a good PvP, reward.
Yeah, I think so. One thing I've seen that they've been doing recently is they've added like the Brutosaur was a gold making achievement. They also have like the mount that you can get from completing a mythic dungeon on plus 15 on all of them, and they have these different rewards. So it would be really cool, like you guys were saying, like if they had a mount armor set for PvP, like getting a certain ranking, or for mythic plus, or a gold making one, or even you could do like a pet battle one. It'd be really cool to have some sort of goal for the player to try to achieve that is honing in on their particular playstyle and what they enjoy.
I mean, I think that's actually a pretty cool idea with mount transmogs. Like, for example, we have character transmogs. It would actually be cool to have mount transmogs. I mean, just imagine if you have, let's take, for example, the Maw legendary armor sets, which are very cool, by the way, if you haven't seen it. What if you could get some transmog for your mount as well? I mean, not only the specific ones that they have designed to be the Maw mounts, but if you could get some mount armor for some of the other mounts that could match your armor set, I think that would actually be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And to be honest with you, a lot of people like to roleplay. This is something not new. A lot of people love to go in, and you could find people when we're playing servers just not completing the game as fast as they can, like some servers do, but they take their time. They literally go to the new expansion and they role play it to the extreme, and that's fun for them. And honestly, I find it fun too sometimes. It's something that needs to be looked at because it's been asked for that, for a long time. I mean, it comes into like, what about wings? It's like Oldbess, I think he gave me this idea the other day. And Oldbess, what do you think about wings?
They kind of have added them here and there. I know, like on my characters from Nyalotha, the first boss, he drops a trinket which can give you like these wings. But wings would be cool. I think of Path of Exile and how they have wings in there and lots of customizations, and you can have some really cool effects on wings in Path of Exile. So it would be fun if they added that. I know they did, like you said, they added backpacks, which was kind of fun too.
Yeah, I mean, and now they have added a lot of back attachments as well that you can get from the Covenants, which is, I mean, it's a good thing because it's something new, and I think the player base will love it. I mean, sure, they do have some clipping issues, but besides that, I think it's a good addition. I really do. Because like I said, I mean, we only have armor sets to transmog into, so the backpack, even though it's so tiny, the change is really small. It's really awesome because it's cool to have something new, because all of us have been playing World of Warcraft for so long, and seeing stuff like that, it's always good.
So also, guys, with enchantments, I think there's still a lot of things they could do with that. So one idea I just had is it would be fun to have like a gold making enchantment. So you could have like your weapon just dripping like gold pieces, or as you run, like there's piles of gold behind your character. That'd be pretty cool. But I just wanted to see what you guys think that they could do with enchantments, because I think there is a lot of cool things they could still do with those.
I think they've started to experiment more and more with the weapon enchant. We didn't have that many in the past. They were basically just a normal weapon enchants with the effects. But they are actually starting to add more effect as a weapon enchant. So it's not even for just the enchant. I'm not sure if I make any sense, by the way. But it's like, in the past, you had an enchant that did X amount of damage or some sort of effect. Whereas these new effects in Shadowlands, they are purely there for the effect. You know what I mean? So it's like they are trying, I guess, to go that route, to add something more unique with the weapon enchants. But I do like the idea of gold dripping down the sword or something.
And that sounds pretty cool and almost everything. But my idea I would love to see is that it would be cool to have like someone, like, let's say a paladin comes in, he's a holy knight, right? Oldbess, let's say take Oldbess, right? He's a paladin, and he dies and he goes to Shadowlands just like the first short, and instead of going to the light, he's like, man, this vampire place is pretty cool. So he goes in there, but it's a paladin. You don't want to go in with all the light, right? So he's like, well, I look at these enchantments, I can be a blood paladin. So he puts enchantments on his chest, his arms, his shoulders, everything, and then he's dripping blood, or glowing blood instead of actually light, like something like a DK would, blue, but he's glowing red, and he's all, yep, I'm a blood paladin and I'm gonna suck your blood, or something. And something like that. I would love to see something along the lines of other than just weapons, full armor stuff. What do you think about that?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, it's kind of similar to what we have in Battle for Azeroth with the corruption, right? Where your gear is kind of covered in corruption, but with more effects, right?
Yes.
That's what you mean.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. And again, like you guys do gold videos and are pretty good. I mean, really good at gold. And that could even be a good potential to get more people into the gold community as well. I mean, especially if it's a cool effect and people want to buy it. And yeah, I don't know, man. Like I like the idea from my side of perspective, but yeah, I mean, how would it be gold wise? How do you guys think it would work? Like, would it be a good market or?
I think it would be a good market because we have seen a lot of success with a lot of the tome enchants. So they have the different enchants from the different expansions that people buy, and people buy them. People do like to have their weapons look cool. So I think there is a demand or interest there that could be met.
No, and I agree totally 100%, because again, it comes back to role playing. A lot of role players, they like to go very deep inside it, and I'm talking about very deep. Let's say they're role playing, and then let's say somehow they get killed by a mob that's from the blood place and all stuff, and they wake up in that blood place. They're like, well, now I'm a blood elf or a blood paladin. I mean, honestly, they're gonna buy that stuff just because now they gotta play that part. So, I mean, it comes to the point of role-playing, how much you do that and so forth. And I see on those servers, stuff like that would sell like candy. And honestly, a lot of people would probably farm that just for that stuff because they know that role-players do this. I mean, have y'all ever been on a role-playing server? Have you ever seen, you're just trying to level up someone and you've seen a whole group of people just like talking about a sign or talking about like their next quest or what happened to the past, stuff like that?
It's on my bucket list to go to an RP server. I've never actually played an RP server. I haven't tried RP, but I have a friend who says it's pretty interesting. So I really want to try it out and see how it is.
Was it the Goldshire Inn? That's whenever I think of roleplay, I just think of that and night elves dancing on the countertops and stuff like that. I don't have much experience with it myself, but I have seen a few videos. I think it's pretty fun where people will like make their own quests and stuff, and they'll have like a dialogue and you like follow them around or things like that. I think that's pretty cool. Lei, do you have anything more to add about what Blizzard should do with some of these transmog options?
I mean, it would be really cool if they added the color wheel. I mean, I do see the issues why they don't do it, because I think all of their armor sets are hand-painted still. So it's not like that you could go ahead and change it with a color wheel. But it would be cool, have more customization on your armor. Like I said before, the more customization you have on your armor set, the better it is. I mean, the players would absolutely love it. And again, tier sets. We definitely need them back. I mean, as cool as these armor sets are, they are not class specific. So, for example, some of the raid letter sets are really good for a rogue, but not really good for a druid. So yeah, I hope we get tier sets back. And I mean, a color wheel would be cool, but I doubt it because they do hand paint the BLPs, the textures. So yeah.
And that sounds pretty interesting, honestly. That's something I didn't think about, and this is why you need to go watch Lei, because he has a lot of good ideas. He has a lot of good content on his channel. Guys, again, if you haven't checked him out, check him out. But yeah, I would be for that.
That would be cool. They do a lot of the reskin stuff, like you mentioned too. But a color wheel would be a really cool idea if you could select the colors that you'd want on your gear. That would be really nice.
Would you guys be willing to sacrifice some of the quote-unquote quality of the textures? And instead they could add a color wheel, because that would be the case probably, because like I said, most of these sets, the textures are still hand painted. So if they were to make a color wheel, I think they would have to sacrifice some of the quality, I think. I'm not sure. I haven't played other MMORPGs. Have you guys played any other MMOs where it's possible to actually use a color wheel for the armor sets? And if you have, how well does it work?
I specifically haven't. I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't, but I would be able to sacrificing something just to actually have a color wheel. Because if you think about it, obviously all the gear sets would be the same color, but then you would go to Tmog and you would just change it up and make it look cool and all stuff. That would honestly, I think it would be a good idea. What about you, Oldbess?
The only experience I have with it is it's actually a different game. It's the Deep Rock Galactic. They have on their armor, you can select different colors and it will recolor your armor for you. So that's the only experience I have with it, and it's nice. But you're right, it's like the quality isn't the best on it because it just kind of repaints the whole armor piece in different areas, and so I think that would be a loss, not having the armor look as sharp. So something to consider as well.
So my next question towards you, Ley, is should there be more lore in gear sets? So what I mean by this, I mean, like, for instance, you said about the tier sets that you wanted to come back. What if, once you got all 4, a little quest pops up or something like that that tells you to do, just a mini quest, and it tells you about where this gear came from? Maybe it was a slain hero that, the boss that you killed took away from him and had it in his bag and so forth. Or maybe it was just something that the boss went on a quest to get and then had it and we just took it away from it. What's your thoughts about that?
I think it would be very cool. I mean, just look at the Heritage Drama sets. They kind of have a story behind them, and people love it. Not only are they awesome sets, but the story behind them are pretty awesome as well. And the player kind of gets more attached to it as well. I mean, to a point, I wouldn't like the idea of for example, Lich King's helm becoming obtainable by players. That would kind of ruin the lore. But tier sets or heritage armor sets or stuff like that, I think would be very cool. It would take some time for Blizzard to actually do it, so I'm not sure if it's worth the sacrifice. Like people say, are we gonna sacrifice a raid tier for this? You know how people are, but I think it would be cool. It's a cool idea.
So when I think of this, I think of like the Ashbringer in Legion, for example, where you have like a million paladins running around with the Ashbringer. So I think when it comes to like these really particular like set piece items that have some history behind them, or are maybe they're dropped from a particular mob or monster or someone special in particular. So what I'm thinking with this is just having, back in vanilla, they had these really, really hard to obtain legendary weapons. And so if they did something like that where just only a few people were able to have them, I think that would be more interesting than an item that everyone can get. Like it maybe it's a cool set piece or something that you can get, but if everyone has it, it's not as cool.
No, I understand where you're coming from, but like when it comes to like, lore and stuff like that and everything, we see gray items and white items, and even books all the time have it. Like it doesn't have to be a whole quest. It doesn't have to be a whole thing. We have little text that says used to be this for a king, or used to be this. I mean, me personally, I would like to see that more and more gear, even if it's just a line or two stating, it came from here and all stuff, everything. I mean, my point is that I don't want to feel like when I get a piece of gear, it's just only for Tmog, or if it's just only for oh yeah, I got a piece of gear, great.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good idea. I've never thought about it, but the more we talk about it, the better the idea.
All right, so Ley, here's another question. Thoughts on the state of the game, and is Shadowlands in the right direction? Is it going in the right direction, or is it a step back from, BFA?
Nothing can get worse than Battle for Azeroth, in my opinion. But I'm a bit afraid. I'm a bit afraid. The classes at the moment are in a very bad state. I'm not sure if they can fix everything. I mean, the release is in 50 days or something. So I'm kind of afraid with the classes. But besides that, I think Shadowlands is going to be a great game. The quests are really good. I mean, I played some of the quest lines on the beta, and they were pretty interesting. They were really immersive as well. I mean, you have voiceovers, you have everything you want from a quest line. So from that perspective, it's cool. But from a class perspective, I'm kind of afraid how it's going to turn out. I mean, we have Covenant abilities, we have the unpruning. How is that? I mean, you've gotten your all spells back. how is that gonna work, and with the legendaries. There is a lot of new systems that, yeah, just haven't been tested enough, in my opinion.
For me, I'm really excited for it. I am a little worried about some of the Covenant stuff and, like Ley said, some of the systems. Maybe time will tell, and we'll see if they're able to make some quick fixes if there are problems. So that way we're not going months and months with a system that's just not working or people are not liking. That's my only concern, but the zones themselves look very large, look very, very cool. There are some really cool gear sets. The Tower of Torghast is a really interesting idea with the rogue-like theme. So I'm really curious to check that out once it's all done and try that out. So there are some really cool things going on. I think with Battle for Azeroth, like Ley said, there were some pretty big flops. The war fronts were a big flop. Islands were a flop. A lot of the key systems and new features in Battle for Azeroth, they just weren't well received and weren't very good. So hopefully some of these new things will work out like they're hoping they will.
I agree to a certain extent. I really do. But when it comes to all that stuff, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not an expert at it. I didn't look into everything, but I had more of my time when it came to alpha and beta, obviously to put in bugs when I saw them. But I was trying to figure out, why were they doing this to gold making? Why was gold making stuff starting to be nerfed? Why are they doing this? And obviously relics came, and we're like, okay, maybe it's relics. But look at Shadowlands farming spots, and if you look at beta, I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, there's some farming spots that are going to be really amazing for boxers, for single players, and so forth. And hell, I mean, there could be some other stuff that's going to be added to as well. I mean, this is like any expansion. When it comes out, you're going to have, those set spots to go to get the best cloth, the, mining routes, herbalism and so forth. But other than that, I'm going to say right now, I don't see why they're nerfing everything else, okay? Other than the relics. I mean, yeah, maybe it's just relics. That's it. They're nerfing. Or maybe it's just them being to the point they just want you to buy the WoW token or not get gold that easy. I mean, do you have any opinion on that, Oldbess?
It's tough. I think they might be trying to combat multi-boxing in some ways, because I think a lot of the spots that have been nerfed were boxing spots. But at the same time, they are nerfing a lot of the raid gold stuff in the next expansion, although that's a pretty common thing that they do. So I'm not 100% of what their intentions are. And I think we have talked about like the Brutosaur. I think the Brutosaur was, they went overboard. I think they've even stated that they went overboard with the amount. Like 5 million gold is just absurd. So it did push a lot of people into just farming or boxing, and so maybe they're trying to combat that, but that was kind of their fault in some ways, because they introduced this really, really big ticket item that just it's a very useful amount. People want it, but it costs so much gold. So yeah, I don't know all of their reasonings. But another thing too I've thought about is, I often see the spots that get nerfed are very small. Like, it's a very small area that you can just kill a bunch of mobs. I've noticed that those areas tend to get nerfed a lot faster than the ones that are a larger area where you would like need a group or something like that. Oftentimes those ones stick around.
I know you're not a gold maker, but have you seen these nerfs? Have you seen that they're taking a lot of gold away from players?
Like the big boy mount, it was kind of a gold thing. I still don't have it. I wish I had it, but now they're removing it, and I don't know, man. Like, now it's gonna be on the black market auction house, but wouldn't it be cool if, I don't know, like gold makers somehow could get it from farming something and gather a lot of materials to craft this mount or whatever, and actually sell it instead of the black market auction house selling it. Yeah, there's a lot of potential for gold making that they're kind of just, like you say, nerfing or not thinking about, or yeah.
That would have been actually a good idea right there if they had something in BFA. Hey, there's this mount that costs a little bit, not too much, but you can craft it, and it, it's soulbound maybe, before you can get it for gold makers. That would have been a good idea.
Yeah, I like that idea too. I think that would be a really fun idea. I think with Legion, they kind of felt like they had the spider mount, which was 2 million, but I just didn't. It didn't really. It just didn't really grab me very much. It just didn't seem worth it. But yeah, just making it fun, like you said, like if you introduced it into the crafting system, would be really cool. I really like the Brutosaur for sure. I did think it was too much gold. If you convert WoW tokens into like actual money, like if you were to buy the tokens, I think it's almost $1,000. So it's just insane. So I think it was too much.
How do you guys feel about them removing the mount? I mean, wouldn't that mount kind of be a goal for a lot of gold makers? I mean, for example, I would get into gold making if, I don't know, for example, next expansion in Shadowlands, I would maybe get into gold making because I want that mount. So how do you guys feel about them removing mounts like that? Or are you okay with it? Because then you got the mount, you saved a lot of gold, and now it's gone, kind of gone. It's still on the black market auction house, but you have something unique that others perhaps don't have.
Well, me personally, I find that an achievement is great and all stuff, but in the same sense, you should announce it way ahead in advance. You shouldn't be like only a month or two in advance that, hey, we're getting rid of this mount, and then they change it from the end of expansion to pre-patch. It was officially supposed to be removed at the end of expansion, so a lot of people weren't boosting or doing anything they wanted to do to make gold, right, that much compared to they are now, because now we know it's pre-patch, even though they said it was going to be the end of the expansion.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to think of what their thoughts are, and this is my best guess, is I think when they introduced the mounts, it has an auction house vendor on it, which is just incredibly powerful. I think they probably would like players to still feel the need to go to some of the main towns to go to the auction house, because that's why a lot of players go there. And so they don't want to kind of make the same mistake they did with the garrison, for example, where they have like this one-stop all location for you. So I think they're a little worried about keeping it in for that reason, because you look at the other ones like the mammoths and stuff, that they have the ones that have the vendor and also the transmog ones. Those are still in the game, and you can still buy those. So it is a little surprising they are removing it, but I wonder if that is one of the reasons.
Personally, I don't think that removing the 5 million gold mount will decrease the multi-boxer community. I think it will actually increase the multi-boxing community, because you're not removing the mount completely. You can still buy it on the black market auction house, and it's probably going to go for gold cap. So I think it's actually going to make a huge problem with the multi-boxing community than it is currently. I'm not very familiar with that whole community of multi-boxers. I know some hate them, some people don't really care, some people love multi-boxing. So yeah, I think it might create a bigger issue in Shadowlands when they remove the mounts. I don't think they're gonna fix anything or solve anything by removing it.
And honestly, I'm not the multi-box here, okay? It's Oldbess is, but I'm gonna play, the other person, and I'm gonna say right now, I don't think they're doing it because of multi-boxing, or not because. I'm thinking they're doing it because it's a good way to sell a lot of WoW tokens. If you think about it, as a company, they would, if they put out a release date, like, oh, hey, we're gonna, take away this mount, people who were going for it, they're gonna spend the $200 they need extra just to get those tokens and sell it, and then boom, they got them out. Or they're gonna have someone say, you know what, I'm gonna start doing multi-boxing because now I'm forced to do it. So they start multi-boxing, they start going out, and they're like, oh man, I'm making a lot of gold, but I paid $70 in expansion, or let's say you get the minimum with Shadowlands, $40, right, each. Let's say they do 4, that's what, 40 times 4 is 160. Then you got your game time that doesn't come with the base, so they have to go pay for the game time and so forth. I mean, you can see how it, per player is going to cost a lot of money just to get this mount, because they really want this mount. And I'm not hitting on Blizzard or anything like that. It's a good business move. I mean, I know so many people who've actually spent the rest just to get the mount because they needed 200 or they needed 150. I mean, what are y'all's thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think multi-boxing is so expensive. I agree. So with my 8 accounts, I purchased the bundle. So it's the BFA with the Shadowlands bundle. And after tax, I think it's like $94 or something. And I got that for my extra accounts. I've been able to, some of it I've actually used my own money to buy it. And then I would just use the gold, and I'd buy the Blizzard balance to help me. But no, you're right. It's a lot of money. It's with 8 accounts. If you were to buy all of that, that's almost $800. So, which is absurd. And then plus, you have to get game time every month too. So, and I actually saw an article about that too when Blizzard was asked about multi-boxing. This was quite some time ago, but they were saying how they'll tolerate it, but they're not they're never going to make it any cheaper to get into. And I think, and maybe that's part of the reason that they've left it, it's expensive to get into, either gold wise or with real money, just keeping all those accounts active.
All right, guys, and this is the last question I got for Lay and all of us around here. It's going to be redemption arc. Should this be a thing in Shadowlands? Should the Banshee Queen have her chance to shine again, or are you fed up with her already?
No, she shouldn't have any redemption arc at all. I mean, we've seen enough of her, but what I would love to see is some drama within the Alliance. I'm so tired of everybody being so happy, and I want some drama within the Alliance. I mean, the Horde is getting all the exciting things. I mean, they had a war chief, and now she's all bad and all. I mean, why can't Anduin go bad, or I don't know, somebody else? That would be interesting. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling bored with the Alliance currently because everybody's so happy. It's like PG-13 or whatever.
Yes, I understand it. It's kind of getting boring when we're just like, oh yeah, we're always the good guys. It's just a lot of stuff that could change when it comes to Alliance. I've been an Alliance fanboy, or you could call me that. Sorry, subscribers. I hope I don't lose some of y'all because I just play Alliance. But I've been Alliance since the start of the game. I like the Horde. I'm not gonna lie about that. I played a few tiers just off of Horde and BFA, and it's fun. There's a lot of stuff going on there and everything. But I gotta agree, there's a lot of action that goes on in Horde compared to the Alliance, and it's just time for a change. There has to be some kind of takeover. Something happens. Maybe a war between the factions of the Alliance or something. I mean, I honestly think that maybe something with the other human races. Maybe something that we haven't seen from another side of the world that we haven't been to. Because there's everybody's saying that there's another part of the world there is out there that we haven't seen. Something that would split up the Alliance. Just for an expansion or something.
I'm not too much of a lore guy. I'm normally the person who just hits the accept quest button and then completes the quest button. But yeah, if Sylvanas was redeemed, I don't really feel too strongly one way or the other. I think there's been a lot of frustration with her for quite some time, so I think a lot of people would like to see her burn. But I'm game. I think some drama would be fine with the Alliance. I agree. I think there's been a lot of stuff around with the Horde recently, and there hasn't been too much happening with the Alliance. So yeah, I think switching some stuff up with Alliance would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that happened within the Alliance were Varian who died. I mean, sorry, spoiler alert, but I mean, that's the only exciting thing that happened within the Alliance. I don't remember anything exciting happening. I mean, just look at the Horde, Sylvanas going bad, and Garrosh, and I mean, everything. Yeah, the tree, the burning of Teldrassil, and stuff like that. But on the Alliance side, not so much. I mean, it's getting a bit boring. So I hope Shadowlands is going to bring some exciting new stories to be told and some exciting lore for the Alliance, some drama perhaps. I mean, I don't want to spoil Shadowlands, but I think we can expect some pretty cool things with the Alliance and Shadowlands.
But anyways, guys, I want to say thank you so much to Lay for being here today. It was amazing having him on. Any more questions, Oldbess, at all?
Yeah, thank you so much, Lay, for being on. And also, before I forget, please feel free in the comment section below. Let us know if you guys have any questions for next podcast that you'd like answered, and we'll try to answer as many as we can.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I really enjoyed it. I really did. So thank you so much for having me on.
All right, and thank you for joining us. And I'm going to say thank you so much to everybody for joining the podcast. It's been really fun. Sorry, if it's not 100% professional, but we are getting better at this. This is only our second time. We have a lot of stuff planned for the near future. Hopefully we get some more guests. We do have a gold maker coming on, and the next guest, Oldbess reached out to him, and I'm not going to spoil who it is, but you probably do know who the person is. But with that said, guys, I want to say thank you so much for watching us, and as always, please like, subscribe, and stay stashy.